there, welcome to the last batch of shows for 2020. We're going a bunch of them and they'll go out over the next few days, and that'll be me till January at some point. Probably middle to late January, because I tend to be a slow starter in January, so it's just the way I am. So this is the last bunch, so I'll keep watching films. I won't make any videos till probably mid to late January now. So this is a double bill. This is the start for a double bill. The Man from Nowhere and No Tears for the Dead. A double bill of Lee Jeong-beom. I'm sure I butchered that name, but I gave it my best shot. I'm not going to try again. Right, so this is a double bill. I've just discovered this director. I got it recommended to me. And once I saw one, I'm going to this follow-up film as well. So The Man from Nowhere is the more famous of the two. It's from 2010. It was a massive hit, and this was the thing about his films is they do take on like the genre conceits and then twist them to more emotional ways. Basically, they're kind of like melodramas, but done with some emotional directness. There's like the plots are melodramatic and the plots have are set up in a way that's almost like a violent version of a Douglas Sirk thing. Really, he's kind of taking the John Woo approach of like there is the action and there is the thriller mechanics, but it's really about the emotion of the characters. Although John Woo is much more operatic in his style, and this director's more naturalistic, but it's still a melodramatic conceit throughout these films. So the first one is they both take place in a world of crime, just like John Woo movies. The conceit the first one is basically we've got an ex-Secret Service man who had a tragedy in his life, and he's now working as a pawnbroker in this building, and he forms a bond with this little girl who teases him, he teases her back, and she's got a mother who's a drug addict and who's into crime and has lots of unsavoury connections. And she doesn't like the fact that her daughter's formed a bond with this guy. And she can be pretty nasty at times. But it continues, and the bond continues. Then a crime that the mother got involved in backfires and leads her to being basically murdered. And the little girl is taken into this crime syndicate to be basically to be used as a mule for drugs throughout the city, to be someone who delivers money, delivers different things throughout the city. Meanwhile, the ex-Secret Service man gets tied into this because the drugs were left in his pawn shop. And then as soon as they mess with him, he messes them back, and he's going to get the little girl back, no matter what, and that's his focus. That's it, that's what he's about. And as the film goes on, you get some flashbacks, and you get to see his past a bit more. Just like you'd see in a lot of films like this. It's a melodrama, it is like, the emotions of the characters are more important than plot mechanics, really, in this thing, and but it is beautiful because it is so underplayed, and you really feel for the lead character, even though his hairstyle in the first half of the movie with the hair over his eyes a lot is very emo. It's a bit over the top and very kind of anime, but the performance is so good it doesn't matter, and the bond between him and the little girl works so well. It's so well set up for the first 20 minutes. There's a moment where he lets her sleep in his bed while he just sleep on the couch or something because her mum's thrown her out for the night because her mum's getting high. And when he wakes up, he finds she's painted a little thing on his fingernail. She's into like fingernail painting. There's these little things like that stays with him throughout the whole movie. Still, there's one little fingernail that's been painted by this little girl as he tries to find her. And there's touches of that make it much more human. The fact that it's not a perfect relationship, that he's a bit of a thief because of her mum's situation. He doesn't let her get away with that, and he's a bit tough on her for that, and she resents him for some things, but the bond's still obviously there. And when they take her, he's going to go after them all and get her back. Like, this is the kind of film that Taken wishes it was. Because there's great action, but the emotional core of it is he can get his little girl back. And throughout it, you see the darkness of the world. It's like he's up against these this small crime organisation that's planning to take over, and it understands that he's a bonded girl, so they're going to use him to set him up as a patsy, but also to try and find a way to get the competition out of the way. But they've chosen the wrong guy, obviously, and at least a lot of fights. And so the good thing is he's a hitman, but he's not invulnerable. He can get beaten up, he can get shot, and he can feel a lot of pain. He just fights through the pain to actually get to his destination. He has to deal with the police who are after him and the gangsters, but mainly the gangsters more than him. So the police start to realise at a certain point that he's actually after the gangsters too, so it's just stay out of his way. And it's just wonderful. It's just a wonderful film, and there's a really good villain who has ties to the hero, and you're kind of waiting for their big fight, really. It just is a wonderful film. It's very emotional, very down to earth in the emotions. But then when it gets to the actual action, it really delivers because it's pretty brutal. I mean, the only thing about the action is sometimes it's a bit close contact in a way that sometimes you don't quite see what's going on. You're not quite sure it's because the actor isn't a martial artist or something, I don't know, but it still works most of the time really wonderfully. And obviously they had him to be an actor, not a martial artist. But you still buy him as someone who knows what they're doing, how to defend themselves. He always has some really interesting tactics. He's always ahead of the game, and it's wonderful seeing him take apart this organisation who thought they were invulnerable, and they realised too late what they've done, who they've messed with, and it's a big, big mistake for them. So that's the first one. That's Man from Nowhere. Now, No Tears for the Dead is the follow-up. This was viewed as not as good as Man from Nowhere, because Man from Nowhere had the perfect blend of action and melodrama and emotion. It's like the thing about that film is every scene seemed propelled by his desire to get his girl back. And there's a few close calls where he almost gets to her, and there's a lot of emotions where he thinks she's been really damaged and he goes really too far. But it's always tied to the emotion of the character, and you always feel each moment is worked through the characterization. Even though it's an action beat, it still feels like that motivation has come from character. No Tears for the Dead has that for a bit, most of the running time, but for me, it's not as good ultimately because in the last third it becomes an action piece more than a character piece. But it's still a really good melodrama. I mean, this one's about this guy who comes from Korea but went to America when he was young with his mum and became a gangster, became an assassin. In the first scene in the film, you actually see him taking out a group of men as a contract, but he accidentally shoots a little girl at the time, and it causes him a lot of guilt. Kind of like Chewing Fat and the killer who accidentally shoots the singer and feels a lot of guilt. This one is a little girl and she dies. So he really feels that. He really feels like it's a sin, he can't go on. But he's ordered, because the whole thing was messed up, he's ordered to actually finish the job off, find his information he was meant to find, which means actually tracking the mother of the dead girl. And this is a step too far for him. This is the thing that's really pushing him over the edge. Because he's watching this woman who is... she's processing the death and she's feeling real guilt because it was her daughter and she wasn't there to protect her and she died. And she's trying to repress it all by just getting on with her job. But slowly but surely over time, it's coming through. She's also got a sick mother with dementia. There's lots of stuff going on and she's really finding it hard to stay on with her life. She will not go into the room with her own daughter because the memories are too painful. Then when she finally has a breakthrough of the emotion, that's when the action starts, and that's where they find out that she actually does have the information they're looking for, which is will implicate them, will implicate her bosses, who she thinks she's working for this hedge fund who's very legit. It turns out it's a front for like the basically the mob, like the Korean mob. It also moves. It's also tied to America because they're moving a lot of money from America through that. So when they find that out, the order are dead. The hitman decides to go against the orders and protect her instead, which leads to a lot of his compatriots from America coming over to hunt him down, as well as him taking on the local gangsters too, and a very melodramatic lot of set pieces. As you see her try to through her grief and try to survive, you see him like being focused and making sure she survives no matter what, and making sure his own team goes down. And again, it's wonderful. For 2/3 of it, it's just wonderful because you see his grief, you see his sense of guilt that's killing him. You see her grief, and you get the sense that he's been damaged by life well before that in a way that he can't quite get over. So there's lots of really interesting things going on, and it's slowly paced, just like Man from Nowhere. It's paced so that you're getting character stuff. You're getting little bits of action here or there, but you're getting mainly character stuff the first hour, and then it ramps up. And this one, it ramps up too much for me. This one, two-thirds of the way in, after they've had a really great action scene in a block of flats where the police are trying to get information and there's some ammonia inside and all hell broke loose, and it became this massive fight over this set of flats that. And basically, it was like our hero versus three. It was compatriots. They all know each other's tactics, and they're all trying to kill each other. And it's a really brutal fight where everybody gets really badly injured. That's wonderful. That's so much character-based stuff, and there's so much rage involved. You really feel what's going on every moment. Then it moves to the building of the ultimate villain, the guys who are the money launderers. And what the hero, I mean, the hero in inverted commas, because we start the film, see him kill a kid by mistake, but he still kills a kid. So it's a real tweak on the idea of a hero, really, in these kind of movies. Because normally, if you have a gangster who feels bad with his past, you don't see the horrible thing he did. That's when you do see it. So you always know that you should only be so sympathetic towards him. And the woman is shut off her emotions so much that she does a couple of things that aren't very ethical as well. So it does test your patience with these characters a little bit. But compared to the villains, they are virtuous. But the problem is at the end where it becomes this basically more like Die Hard. It's a building. It's him versus these three guys plus the top guy. And how they slowly turn tables on the villains to make them start to hate each other and things like that. And it's very complicated, but it's too plotty for me. I think it's all plot and not enough character, and the rest of the film is about character, and the plot sprung from that. And then now it became them doing things that seem clever but doesn't feel fitting in the rest of the film. There's still some wonderful moments. I mean, there is a thing between your lead character. Him and his old pal, his pal has to hunt him down, lead the team to hunt him down. And they obviously feel something for each other, and they feel horrible what's happening. And it's more of a personal betrayal than money for them. And it's a relationship that's very complicated. And how the lead character resolves his guilt and the problem with the woman has is really unique and really interesting. Just there's so much. There's about 10 minutes of slick action plotting that kind of gets in the way of the other stuff. And for me, it makes it less successful than Man from Nowhere. But it's still a very good film. It's still very enjoyable. First 2/3 are great. Last third's still very entertaining. It just loses some emotion, I think, that you really need. But these are still two really good films. I highly recommend them. I'm trying not to go into too much detail, not give you the incidental details. Just try to give you an idea of what it is. Because there's lots of wonderful, delightful things that happen in this that you don't see in normal films. So these are two very good films by one director, but Man from Nowhere is the one to see. Man from Nowhere is amazing. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back soon for some more. Okay, right, bye.